Mr. White, yes, would you like that theory shows
it's fine to say
this was less than marginalization in terms of
no, during
like socially segregating people. I think he inadvertently feels marginalized or left out of the justification because of and
warm to this
duality of what he really wanted, where he finds himself now, on where he's from, and the places he goes, and how
or like
or just to juxtapose
something maybe like the fact that I don't know how to say it, the fact that doesn't really have you can sort of that part of the jar.
Yeah.
Because I know you're my, I don't run the word out of my head.
His guilt on the lack of his time. Or it's kind of not like he's in that's his job, but he doesn't instead of us, he doesn't have fun, he doesn't he's not so you see all this stuff. That's basically what you were saying. He says all this stuff. He doesn't think he does. These photos are rather
goals in mind. Hard work included.
this didn't stop.
Got about 6 minutes on.
But part of it is running the arrow upstairs inconsistently at where you are.
Will you send me like that one?
Back to
I'm a woman.
Good Lord.
I want to say.
The opposite. This is the worst mistake I've ever done. Well, all the cities, like these.
Effects of kind of like the pain and suffering on different because it kind of compares, not compares, but it mentions how he visualizes things of how but then also how like the people, he hears the agonized cries of this man's wife, blah blah, and then how the rest of the people that just kind of prickles their tears.
So it's not necessarily the pain and suffering ends up being the focus. It's more of like the concern and reaction.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like internalization.
Yeah, or lack thereof.
Okay, the solitary and the guilt. So solitary and guilt.
We made one.
Yeah.
Please stop that, whatever that is. Awesome.
No, they get nothing on the side. I don't
Well, the hair in my head.
These two are basically.
We're done.
Oh, so you just want that.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Does it?
Bye, George. Me? Well,
It's definitely not ready.
it's that thing is another one. Yeah, please, close your stuff. Look at the screen. Look at the face.
Definitely put it in here.
Alright, so war photographer. I would probably suggest you start with the thesis.
Oh, we didn't do the thesis. We just analyzed.
I would suggest you start by freestyling a thesis.
Okay, so
And if it's good, we'll be hardly amazed. If it's not, freestyle, just go ahead. No worries.
in the poem Work Photographer by Carol Ann Duffy, the author tries to portray the message of the horror of war as well as the indifference of people through using literary devices such as symbolism, visual imagery, and metaphors in order to emphasize the impact that that war has on people and how little importance people actually give to it. Okay, so firstly, we wrote down two main themes. So the two main themes of the poem are the horrors of war and, in contrast, the indifference of people towards it. So firstly, we're gonna.
Whoa. I'm stopping right there. If you didn't write down the word indifference, you could have said something else, a synonym or some sort of paraphrase version thereof. But indifference is huge. Go ahead there, Gloria.
So should we start analyzing the poem?
Just saying I choose that
Yeah,
one.
just go to what you have in terms of, we see some stuff there, just tell us what it means, and so
Yeah.
really going back and thinking about the criterion, which you read to us a few minutes ago. This is the device, this is how it ties back in the effect, so both of these sides.
Okay.
Good, indifference and horror of war, thank you. Continue.
So in the first stanza, Carol Ann Duffy kind of sets the tone of the poem and gives a bit of, I guess, background information such as the setting and the mood. As she says, in his dark room, he's finally alone. So dark room is, first of all, the setting where the photographer is, as well as it sets the mood, so it's a technicality. And alone, the word alone is very powerful as it connects to the theme, as like it connects to war and how people always feel alone, soldiers and such. And then with spools of suffering set out in ordered rows, that's a metaphor for the pictures, but Carol Ann Duffy used this wording in order to make it have a bigger impact on the readers, rather than just say he put out his photographs. The only light is red, that is symbolism, and it has a religious connotation to it, as this poem mentions religion in the first stanza. And then the last line of the stanza, Belfast, Beirut, Phnom Penh, all flesh is grass. So this is an allusion. The sentence structure is structured like this in order to put emphasis on the cities, because these are cities in which there are ongoing wars. And all flesh is grass is also, it's a religious, it's like a biblical reference. So an allusion to an actual line from the Bible, and it's in its own sentence in order to again put emphasis on what Duffy's trying to say, which is that she's trying to show the contrast between war, which is something which which results in a lot of deaths, and then she contrasts it with the church and how everything in church is like innocent and everyone's a saint. So further on in stanza 2, we highlighted a few points. For example, solutions, slop in trays. This suggests that the photographer is trying to find a solution for the war through his pictures, as she says that those pictures might be solutions. Also, home again to ordinary pain with simple weather can dispel. The fields which don't explode beneath the feet of running children in a nightmare heat. So these three lines have two important meanings to them. So firstly, it's visual imagery, and it's showing, it kind of juxtaposes the theme of the poem, as Carol Ann Duffy is trying to say how right now in rural England, the biggest problem would be the weather. But actually, in other places, the problem would be that the earth might explode beneath people's feet. And also, she says running children, with juxtaposing with fields exploding, and that is, she takes a very innocent image and turns it into something sinister to further point. Then she says that a stranger's features faintly start to twist before his eyes, a half-formed ghost.
So the protagonist has now hallucinations, and then Caroline Duffy says that he remembers the cries of the man's wife, how he sought approval without words to do what someone must, and how the blood stained into foreign dust. So this is him remembering. So this stanza basically is just a flashback. It's him remembering taking permission from the dying man's wife. Man's bloody wound was like his blood was sinking and being absorbed by the earth, which can also have a religious connotation to it, as earth is like, as all flesh is grass, it's like kind of showing that people die and then they become part of the earth, and the cycle goes on and on, the cycle of life. All of this being imagery. And then 100 agonies in the last stanza. So 100 agonies in contrast with, we'll pick out 5 or 6. It's immediate contrast, as Duffy contrasts 100 agonies with pick out 5 or 6 to show how there are multiple of the war and how it hurts so many people, hundreds or thousands of people, but editors pick out just 5 or 6 pictures to kind of again show that indifference of people when actually there's a much larger picture. And then the last line is important as it kind of ties the whole poem together. It says, from airplane, he stares impassively at where he earns a living and they do not care. So this is basically saying that while staring at the landscape, the photographer has a revelation and realizes the fact that despite his effort to try and change something through his photographs, they will never change anything, as this problem is global and it's very big, and one person cannot change it. And then lastly, a very, very important part of this poem is the fact that the structure, firstly, the rhyme scheme is A, B, B, C, D, D, and the structure never changes. So this can kind of be a reference, show how despite, just like the structure never changes, despite the photographer's efforts, nothing will change. So Duffy, we believe that she strategically made the structure be this way, unchangeable, very structured, very, very clear, very concise. In contrast to like suffering, as the theme of this would be like people suffering and such, which suffering and like being hurt, it's very messy and it's like all over the place. You can't control it, you can't put it into a certain structure. And then the poem is structured, so it kind of like juxtaposes that with the theme. So yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Should have written something down. Even if they didn't necessarily, oh, I said all that, you might have expressed it in a different way. Anybody mentioned potentially, and definitely made like that bullets. She might not agree with Gloria's interpretation of the contrast between the structure of the poem and how that does or does not relate to the chaos of war. That I think is really smart. I think a lot. Rhyme scheme, stanzas, lines per stanza, and maybe that it does certain talking about structure and order. She even uses the word ordered road. So he's like in the UK, it's extremely Sunday we do this, and dark room I do this. When he goes on a site, she uses for that. Who knows what's going to happen? And that could